What's up, guys? It is time again for Codes Explained. So in this episode, we are not talking about a specific code. Instead, I'm going to talk about a little bit about some of the misconceptions that I've seen in regard to the check engine light itself, what it means, what it doesn't mean. And these are things I've actually heard people say. So, number one, the check engine light is only for the engine, right? False. The check engine light is basically the PCM's only way of letting you know that something is wrong. Now that could mean that there's a problem with something regarding to the engine, but, and especially in newer vehicles, 2005 and up, the check engine light is used to show faults in a lot of different systems. Anything 05 and up is going to be what's called CAN, and all of the controllers in your car communicate with each other. And if there's a problem in the body control module or a lighting module, or sometimes the gauge cluster is its own module, it depends, it's different from car to car. Any of those systems can throw a check engine light, and basically it's just, that's how the computer lets you know that there's some kind of a problem. Number two, my check engine light is on, but there's nothing wrong with my car. False. The check engine light may be on for a reason that you can't see, but it's never on for no reason, barring some very strange situation where perhaps power is getting to the light bulb when it shouldn't be, but I've never seen that happen. What is more likely happening, and what I've seen the most, is that you have the check engine light come on, you take it to O'Reilly's or Advance or AutoZone or somewhere, and they try to pull the codes with a little generic OBD2 code scanner. Now, there are two kinds of codes. There are actually more than two, but we're only going to talk about two types of codes in general in a PCM. One is what's called OBD2 codes. Now these codes are all the same for every manufacturer. It was made that way in 1996, and that is so that inspection equipment and stuff like that can pull codes and understand them from multiple manufacturers. Now, in addition to those codes, they also have OE specific codes. These are usually in the higher numbers, but these codes are not the same from manufacturer to manufacturer. They don't mean the same, and even in some cases, there are numbers that don't exist in other manufacturers. If you try to use one of those little OBD2 compliant only scan tools to pull a car that has one of these codes, it will tell you there are no codes present. What it should tell you is there are no codes that it can read. But in that case, there is still a problem, but you need to take the car to someone who has a better scan tool that can read OE specific codes. Number three, I don't need to fix my car, it'll be perfectly fine. False. Just because maybe you have a problem like an evap leak or something that's not causing a problem or not likely to cause a long-term problem, doesn't mean there are no bad effects to not fixing a check engine light. Here's the reason why. The check engine light is your computer's only way of communicating with you that there's a problem. So let's say you have an evap code or something like that that's not too big of a deal, and you just opt to leave it on. Well, now if another problem comes up, like let's say a mass airflow sensor is going bad and you're suddenly running really lean, well, it can't double illuminate the light. The light's already on. It has no way to tell you that there's another problem. So you may be driving along perfectly fine and not realize there's another problem, and then boom, your engine blows up. So you need to have the light off just so that it can turn on to tell you when there's a problem. That leads me to number four. My car runs perfectly well, so there's no reason to worry about the check engine light. Once again, false. Just because the car's running well right now does not mean that everything is okay with it. There are plenty of codes, just like what I was talking about before, where the engine may be running lean or running rich or something like that, that don't have a major drivability symptom that you will see. If you're just driving it, you may not notice anything's changed at all. But especially in the case of high performance engines, supercharged engines, turbo engines, things like fuel mixture problems, whereas driving around town you may not notice a difference, are going to run you into the danger zone when it comes to boost. And you may be out beating on the car with no idea that the car is running super lean until it cracks a piston, melts a piston, or does some other sort of damage that's major. Where if you would just check that out and fix that small problem before it became big, it would save you a lot of time and a lot of money. Number 5, and my final one for this video, the check engine light's on, so it just means that I have a bad sensor. And I couldn't tell you how many times people have come in and literally asked me how much to change the sensor. First of all, a car, not just the engine, but in the car in general, there are hundreds of sensors that all do different things. So saying the sensor isn't a very useful thing. 2, as I said earlier, the check engine light is your computer's only way of communicating to you that there's a fault in the car at all. So it's not as simple as if the light comes on, it means this. It could mean a lot of things. It could mean anything from a bad oxygen sensor to a timing belt that slipped to a transmission issue to a body control issue to a lighting issue to an ABS issue. There's so many different things involved, and you should really resist the urge to jump at trying to fix something when you don't know what's wrong with it. Because what generally ends up happening is you just throw a lot of parts at a car and you haven't fixed the problem yet. When sometimes a little bit of time and money spent on diagnosis can make a huge difference in how fast, how easy, and how cheap you can fix the thing that's actually wrong and be done with it. So that was my 5 things list of myths about the check engine light. Hopefully this has been helpful to somebody. If you know someone who has said any of these, direct them to this video and hopefully it'll help clear things up for them. Otherwise, drop me a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Drop me a comment and let me know if you would like for me to continue sort of expanding this series into other realms of diagnosis instead of just explaining codes, because I can do that if you guys are interested, if you want to see that sort of thing. And other than that, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. If you're not new here, make sure you've hit the little bell icon beside where it says subscribe. Otherwise, YouTube will not let you know whenever I upload stuff. And I will see you in the next video that I upload. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and peace.